All right, this is Eric Johansson. I'm here with my podcast partner, Steve, and today we have a guest by the name of Geoff Lamberts. Geoff, welcome to the Allied Dads podcast.
Welcome, Geoff.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, we're glad you're here. So, one of the reasons we wanted to interview is because you kind of, your passions and your efforts in life, closely align with what we're trying to do here at Allied Dads, which is primarily to help, support men, fathers specifically, with ideas, tools, resources, things like that. And so one of the things we saw on your Facebook page is where it says helping fathers live in abundance, empowering fathers globally through health, wealth, and family. So take 30 seconds or so and tell us a little bit about that.
So that's actually been on my heart for quite a while, Eric and Steve, probably since 2015 or so. And it took me a while to get up the courage and really just to work on myself enough to decide, this is time to actually make it happen. You know what I mean? Plug in the light, turn the light on and say, let's go ahead and do this. So what I do is I really focus on fathers globally. I've been a single dad for quite a while, and I really have a heart for single dads because I'm looking at, there's a lot of, married fathers as well that struggle with a lot of things that single dads do, just maybe to a different extent.
Yeah.
And I said, with the skills that I've learned over the last, 7, 8 years, and the people that I've plugged into and the mentorship that I've had, I feel like I'm finally confident enough and equipped enough to be able to help those men develop better discipline, better habits, better mindset, turn those into daily behaviors.
Yeah.
And I say live in abundance. I say health, wealth, and family is to improve your health. Most of us could use a little tweaks here and there to improve our health. As far as wealth and abundance, most people, if given the opportunity, would want to make more money. They might be happy, but it's always like, yeah, I could use a little bit more,
Sure.
Treat my family a little bit nicer. And then family is when you kind of align everything in the right path, you feel more confident about yourself as a man, as a father, as an individual, and you're going to bring more joy, more confidence, and more happiness ultimately. Yeah. Bring it to your family as what we consider the leader of the family. You're going to notice you're going to get that back from your family as well, rather than being exhausted, tired, miserable. So I said those are the areas that I feel I could really, through my own experience, bring that to men and help them.
Well, great. That you covered a lot of ground in a very articulate way. So more on that in a moment. But first.
Hello, I'm Steve.
And I'm Eric. And together we are two dads with one mission.
Welcome to the Allied Dads podcast. This is the show for dads, all about fatherhood, faith, and freedom, one conversation at a time. Okay, so welcome back, Geoff. Listen, that was a great intro. I've got a couple of things that I picked up, but the first thing that really resonated with me right at the beginning, you talked about courage, having the courage to start. I'd really like you to kind of break that down for us.
Well, it just comes down to, I was talking in my mindset, I have a morning mindset group every day, 5 days a week for a half hour. And then once a week, we go a 2-hour session. And courage is kind of the antithesis to the opposite of fear. And what happens with most people, whether you're a man or a woman, but I notice this a lot with men, is that they're afraid of failing. So a lot of times they're afraid to even start trying something. And
right.
What you do is when you have the right tools and you're equipped in the right way, you develop the right mindset. One of my favorite things to tell men that I'm working with is to say, what's the worst that could happen? I mean, you might look at it and say, well, I'm afraid of being embarrassed. We talked about last night in my other group, the fear or public speaking is the #1 fear in the world, even above dying, right? Most people would rather be dead than public speak because they're afraid of being embarrassed. Well, what's the worst that could happen? I look at it and say, why don't we reframe this fear and say, what's the worst ultimately that could happen? If you don't succeed, well, you're probably going to be back where you are right now. Mm-hmm. As far as like moving yourself forward towards abundance, faith abundance, relationship abundance, financial, physical, mental, all of these things. And then somebody brought it up to me, just a quick side note. They said, well, there's some fears that should be genuine. Like if you're going skydiving, what's the worst that could happen? Well, you're probably not going to end up back where you were, but that's a different type of fear. I'm talking about taking the leap of faith and developing the courage to do something you're afraid of anyway. And then trusting either in yourself the people that you're working with, mentoring with, or being mentored by, or the people that are there with you. In the example of skydiving, you trust that they have enough knowledge and experience that, you know, things will go right.
Right. Yeah. But like fear of failure is tied into what you were saying, you know, or like I often talk about how, you know, status quo is like one of our biggest enemies in whatever we're wanting to do in life. You know, we get comfortable, you know, if you have a job, maybe it pays you well, maybe it provides good benefits or whatever, and you can go to work, you can come home, you can sit on the couch and you're comfortable, but you're not, but it's like the biggest dream killer there is. But that status quo is like robbing you of what you really in your heart and mind want to do in life, but you're comfortable. And so comfort is a dream killer.
No, you're absolutely correct, Eric. The thing is, we just get into a routine of comfort, and you know, we're afraid that we might lose that if we try to go above and beyond. And that's why I say live in abundance, live in prosperity, live in faith. Ultimately, you know, have faith and belief that things will work out, and if they don't, you're still going to be okay.
Right.
I'm sure that both of you gentlemen have been in situations that didn't work out the way you had planned.
Oh yeah.
I know I've been more than I can count on two hands.
Sometimes on a regular basis, right? Like,
like
with my effort with quick Bible study, you know, I've been trying things, and it's like, you know, I've tried things for a while. And it's like, you know what? I just don't like it. It's just falling flat. So it's like, I could be like, oh man, that didn't work out, and be all like, I'm a failure. But instead, I'm just like, you know what? I experimented with that. I don't like it. I'm going to do something else. And I just have that kind of attitude about it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
you
know, it's funny.
Right? You tried, you made the effort, you worked on it. You didn't like it or it didn't work, and you know, found a new way.
The moving ship can be steered, right? If you're just sitting at dock, you can't move, you can't steer that ship. So get moving, like take action, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I've been thinking, I've had kind of a phrase on my mind. It's a really well-known phrase, the word pivot. And it's almost like I very rarely use pivot until, say, the last few weeks, but I've noticed that there's been times in my life where I've made some kind of major pivots, and kind of where I've pivoted to has been totally unexpected in terms of if I have known in advance where I would pivot to, goodness, I'd have moved with a little bit more, you know, a little bit more speed to kind of get to where I pivoted to. So yeah, it's really interesting. It doesn't always quite work your way, but you never know where you're going to pivot to.
See, and I've had, you know, kind of like firsthand view of that in your life, and it's fun to watch, you know.
Yeah.
You know, because look, and I know you know this, Geoff. Sometimes it has to get messy. Like stuff has to get broken, you know, and then you, or sometimes you go in directions that you 100% think it's right, and then all of a sudden you realize, wow, I've just walked into a dead end path, you know, and you got to turn all the way back around to go, and you know, so, but whatever it is, messy is okay.
It is. A lot of times stuff will happen when you're not in alignment with the direction you're supposed to be going in. It's something that you might want to do. Sometimes maybe selfishly, you rely on your own abilities, but you're not equipped to do it. Does that make sense? Like if you try to do something, you know, for example, I was a pretty good athlete, you know, when I was younger. I wouldn't say the same now. You know, we're older and we're a little heavier, whatever the case might be.
But didn't you recently run a half marathon? Or
I ran a half marathon, and I'm pretty proud of my time on that. I was shooting for a sub 2 hour. I got 2:22, which was okay, but I didn't adequately prepare. So I ended up, you know, injured, a minor injury. But had I even spent 1% more time training and preparing, I would have been
may have avoided that.
Injured, and I probably would have hit my target on that.
Yeah.
But the point that both of you just said, as far as pivot, and as far as Eric, what you said, the moving ship can be steered. If you're standing still, all that you're doing, you're either looking forward, backward, or left or right. You're not moving in any direction.
Yeah.
Nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to change, and you're not going to be able to be a better father or a better man. Is the reality of it.
Yeah. So I want to go a different direction in this conversation real quick. It's really interesting, but it tells me why Steve and I are connected. So the very first thing that I wanted to ask you after your intro was about courage. So the fact that Steve caught that is so interesting to me. But the other thing I had written down was you mentioned skills, and I'm curious if you can just think about you know, the audience that we're trying to appeal to, again, it's fathers. It's not necessarily single fathers. It can be, but it's fathers is the bigger kind of overriding audience that we want to appeal to. And I think skills are so critical to, like our mental state, our physical state, our spiritual state. And I'm just curious, like, if you had like a minute to tell, you're in an elevator ride with a guy that's struggling, and you have a minute to tell him like what skills he should at least be looking at to change his life, just kind of based upon your experience, what would you tell that guy?
Well, the first thing is, depending on who it is and what their goals are, what they're trying to get out of, what rut they're trying to get out of, it's going to be different. But the first one I would say is you've got to develop a stronger mindset, because if you don't have belief in yourself and your own abilities, you're not even going to take the chance to move forward, and the willingness to learn. When given the opportunity to pick up a book, which you can't see, so to pick up a book and read, or to watch a podcast or listen to a podcast or a video or something, a lot of people, I've heard this over and over again. I last time I read a book was when I was in school. It's like, why?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you? I mean, even a book for entertainment, you're going to use your imagination in a way that you haven't probably in years. That
right.
You have to be willing to learn and absorb that information. And then in addition to being willing to learn, you have to be willing to put that into action. Yep. And if you don't have the belief that you can do it, or even start moving forward, it's never, ever going to work. Two things I like to say on that. There's a phrase that's attributed that I heard years and years ago. It's not applicable. I mean, it's applicable to life in general, but not in my journey of faith and my relationship with God. It's the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. And that's something.
And I agree with you. Mindset, everything starts with mindset. Whether you want to lose weight, get in shape, eat better, impact your spirituality, like you've got to make a decision, and you got to be thinking about things the right way. So, we could obviously do and talk for hours about what those tools are, what the mindsets are exactly, but you've got to be focused on your mindset.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, so we're kind of up against our 12-minute mark or so, that we want to start wrapping this up. One of the things that we want to do real quick is 4 rapid style questions.
Sure.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you a question, and just, like 10 seconds, just whatever's on top of your head. So okay. We've already been kind of talking about this. So this is a good segue. So what's the one book or movie that changed your life?
Aside from the Bible, probably How to Win Friends and Influence People.
All right. If you could have dinner with any historical figure, who would it be and why?
Oh my goodness gracious. Thomas Edison.
Why?
Why? Perseverance. The man never gave up, found 10,000 ways that the light bulb didn't work.
Yep, that's a fact. All right. What's your favorite kind of unexpected hobby or pastime? Something people might not know about you.
I love heavy metal, and I love going to heavy metal concerts.
Okay.
That comes from that is just insane to me. And that crowd of people is like some of the tightest knit, but also the most joy-filled and happy people I've ever met, even though most people don't think that.
Yeah, okay. It's really interesting you say that, Geoff. I'm just going to interject. I've got a really good friend who owns a really successful business, and from the outside you wouldn't know that, but he and a group of his other friends. I'm not obviously in the heavy metal circle with him, but they go like touring the entire world to go to heavy metal concerts, wow. And it's a big hobby of theirs.
Yeah, interesting.
When you kind of look at this guy, and he's all suited and booted in these business suits, and you wouldn't expect to see him at a heavy metal concert. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah,
you expect them to look a certain way, but I tell people who are meeting me for the first time or know me now, they're like, wait, what? Huh?
Yeah. Okay, last question. As a father, what's one piece of advice you'd give to yourself when you first became a father?
Spend as much time with your child as you can, and as they grow up, when they are asking for time with you, they want to talk with you, they want to hang out with you, be undivided. Put your phone down, put all the other crap down, and spend time with them.
That's good advice.
Time to them. Show them that they're the most important thing to you.
Yeah, that's good advice. That will fix a whole lot of other issues between, in a parent-child relationship.
For sure.
That quality time. All right. Well, man, Geoff, it's been good getting to know you. I mean, you and I have been exchanging on Messenger and Facebook for what, a year, 2 years? I don't know.
At least a year, if not a little bit more.
Yeah. And so this is the first time we've had a chance to chat face to face. So it's been good. And I really appreciate what you're about. So thanks for being here. And before we wrap this thing up, tell our listeners how can they get a hold of you? How can they connect with you?
You can connect with me on social media. You can hit me up an email. Social media is probably the best way. I'm always on. I'm always getting notifications. So on LinkedIn, it's just the Geoffrey Lamberts, GeoffreyLamberts. That's the same thing on Facebook. Just look me up. You'll see this pretty face.
Okay. And I've got all your links. We're gonna put that in the show notes.
Cool.
So
Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and email. You got my email.
Do you have one preferred social media? Like where do you hang out on social media?
Facebook.
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty much true for me too.
Yep. And the final thing, to go into your last question, just real quick, if you want to put this in or not, Usain Bolt, what did he do? He ran 9.5 seconds, 9.6 seconds, but he trained for 20 years for that. You have to be prepared, but you have to be willing to move as well.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to be willing to move.
Yep. Take action. Don't just sit there and learn and never do anything, because you'll never get anywhere.
So I've got a little sign right up on the side of my computer screen. It says learn less and study more.
I love it.
And what this means to me is I have a habit of learning about this, learning about that, learning about this, and all these 1,000 points of light of learning. But this last year, I really wanted to focus on knowing more about things that matter, and that's the study part. So,
yeah.
Okay. Any last thoughts, Steve, before we wrap it up?
Well, only a note on my computer, which says, is what you're doing right now moving you in the direction you want to go? And that's just to remind me to not get sucked into a YouTube session where all of a sudden I'm 6 videos in and it's not moving me in the direction I want to go. It's like, pretty much take more action, less learning.
Yeah. Good stuff, guys. Well, hey, thanks again, Geoff. It's been a pleasure. And until next time.
Yeah, it's been fabulous having you, Geoff. Just one last thing before we go is, hit those bell buttons and subscribe buttons. You'll find us on your favorite streaming channels.
Absolutely. All right, everybody. Take care.
Cheers. Bye-bye.